Final warning. God says, I need to talk to you urgently. Don't make me angry, God is begging you to stop ignoring Him. This is your last chance, open this message immediately before tonight 11:51 p.m. Don't skip God. Right now pause and stay here because the moment you open this message something shifted that cannot be reversed. This is not another video, not another coincidence, not something you were meant to scroll past. Heaven pulled you here deliberately, and the fact that you're still listening means your spirit already knows this moment matters. If you feel that pull, gently tap like as a sign you're choosing awareness over distraction. Something powerful is aligning tonight, and the urgency you feel is not fear, it's timing. God says, this message reached you because you were about to miss something important. You've ignored signs before, filled silence with noise, and told yourself you'd deal with it later. But tonight before 11:51 p.m., the whisper becomes a clear voice and it is calling you back. Pay attention to what you've been feeling lately because it was never random. That heaviness, that sudden quiet, that strange feeling that something big is coming, those were signals. God says, those moments were mercy, not pressure. They were reminders that your life was approaching a turning point you couldn't afford to sleep through. This message didn't arrive early or late. It arrived exactly on time. Divine timing does not repeat itself. You may have wondered why plans stalled, why doors closed, why progress slowed right when you expected movement. God says, those delays were protection, not punishment, and tonight decides whether that protection turns into breakthrough. Stay with me because this part matters more than you realize. God says, you were standing near the wrong door thinking it was opportunity. You were listening to voices that sounded logical but were quietly pulling you off course. That's why everything slowed down. Heaven stepped in before you stepped too far. If this message is touching you, share it quietly with someone who's been drifting lately, because sometimes God uses one person to reach another. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Not out of habit but so you stay connected to messages meant to keep you aligned, not distracted. You've been feeling disconnected, like you're moving but not arriving anywhere, and that wasn't failure. That was redirection. God says, confusion was allowed because clarity was being prepared. Tonight is the night the fog starts lifting, but only if you stay present instead of scrolling away like before. This is not about fear or threats. God says, this is about attention and connection. Heaven is not angry with you, it is calling you back. Calling you to stop numbing yourself, stop silencing your intuition, stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. The voice you've been avoiding is the same voice that has been protecting you. Before 11:51 p.m. a moment will pass through your life. It may look small, ordinary, even inconvenient. A message, a delay, a realization, a sudden change of plan. God says, that moment is your crossroads. If you respond with awareness, it becomes a breakthrough. If you ignore, it fades, and you will feel what almost changed everything. If this message is helping you right now and you feel guided to support this channel, you can show it through a super thanks contribution, even something simple like $10. Not as payment but as gratitude, as alignment, as a way of saying I stayed, I listened, I received. Give only if your heart feels peace, not pressure. Breathe and stay right here. Everything that confused you in the past is about to connect. The people who left, the doors that shut, the moments that broke you were shaping you, not punishing you. God says, nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one delay, not one lonely night. You may feel tired right now, but that's because you are transitioning. Old energy is leaving, new direction is forming, and your spirit is adjusting. God says, you were guided here because you were about to miss your moment. That's why this message stopped you mid-scroll. Listen carefully now because this is important. God says, tonight is not about doing something dramatic. It's about listening, noticing, and responding. Watch what happens around you. Pay attention to interruptions, conversations, and sudden thoughts. Something will stand out and your heart will recognize it instantly. As this message comes to an end, don't rush back into noise. Sit with what you've heard, stay alert tonight. God says, the next sign will be subtle but it will carry clarity. And when it happens you'll understand exactly why this message found you when it did. Right now everything slows down for a reason, because this is the moment where confusion starts dissolving. The reason you felt abandoned wasn't because heaven left you, it was because protection was happening quietly. You were being guarded from paths that looked right but would have broken you later. The pauses, the silence, the waiting were not punishment. They were alignment, preparing you for what you could not handle before. Something deep inside you has been trying to speak for a long time and you kept pushing it aside. Those sudden thoughts, the repeated dreams, the uncomfortable feelings you couldn't explain were not random emotions. They were messages trying to guide you away from harm and toward purpose. Now everything is lining up so clearly that ignoring it is no longer possible. What felt like wasted time was actually construction happening behind the scenes. While you thought nothing was moving, foundations were being built. You weren't falling behind, you were being positioned. That's why this moment feels intense, because the preparation phase is ending and the revealing phase is beginning. This is where staying present matters more than ever. Every second you remain here pulls you closer to understanding why your life unfolded the way it did. The storms were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to move you. And now the reason behind every delay is starting to rise to the surface. There is a shift happening inside you right now and you can feel it. That pressure in your chest, that sudden focus, that quiet alertness is not anxiety. It's alignment locking into place. You are standing at the edge of a realization that explains the last few months of your life in one clear moment. The feeling of being alone was never the truth. Every tear you cried quietly was seen. Every prayer you whispered when you were exhausted was heard. Nothing about your struggle went unnoticed. What you thought was abandonment was actually careful preparation for something greater. Everything that walked away from you was making room. Every door that closed was preventing something worse. Every disappointment was redirecting you. Nothing was taken from you. Everything was rearranged with precision even when it hurt. Now comes the part where restoration begins. The peace you thought was gone, the clarity you've been asking for, the direction you've been searching for are all returning in a new form. Not the old version you lost, but a stronger, clearer, more aligned version that fits who you've become. What's approaching will not arrive with chaos or confusion. It will feel calm, solid and right. You won't have to chase it or question it. You'll recognize it immediately because it will feel like relief instead of pressure. The reason the last few days felt uncomfortable is because transformation rarely feels gentle at first. Old habits, old identities, old attachments are dissolving quietly. You are shedding a version of yourself that could not go where you are headed next. Doors you stopped thinking about are reopening. Opportunities you assumed were gone are circling back. People meant to walk with you are drawing closer even if you can't see them yet. Movement has already started. This is why you were brought here at this exact moment. You needed confirmation before stepping into what's next, you needed clarity before momentum, you needed understanding before action. The sense that something big is coming is not imagination. It's awareness. Your spirit is waking up to a new chapter that was written long before you arrived at this moment. And now you are finally ready to read it. You were never cursed, you were redirected. You were never forgotten, you were protected. You were never late, you were being prepared. And now preparation is giving way to progress. There is a reason your plans changed suddenly. A reason people acted differently. A reason your path shifted when you least expected it. Control was being taken from what couldn't guide you and placed where it belonged. What's being revealed next will not shock you. It will make sense, it will click, it will feel like truth settling in your chest instead of noise in your head. This is the moment where your journey stops feeling random and starts feeling intentional. The confusion phase is closing, the clarity phase is opening. Stay present for just a little longer because the understanding you've been asking for is about to land gently but firmly. When it does, you'll know exactly why everything happened the way it did. Your breakthrough doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives with peace, and that peace is already forming around you. Listen carefully, this is where the pressure you've been feeling finally makes sense because the intensity in your chest right now isn't anxiety or fear, it's movement. Something is pushing through the final layer of delay, and that's why your emotions feel louder and your thoughts feel heavier. You are standing at the edge of release, the moment when what's been building behind the scenes finally reaches the surface. Don't skip now because this is the exact point where confusion turns into clarity and waiting turns into motion. Stay right here because what comes next explains why your breakthrough feels so close you can almost touch it. Here's the truth most people never hear: when a blessing is about to arrive, the body reacts before the mind understands. That restlessness, the sudden memories, the sharp awareness you feel right now are signals that your season is changing. You weren't breaking down, you were shedding an old version of yourself that couldn't carry what's coming. This is why things felt uncomfortable lately. Comfort was removed so growth could take its place. Stay with this message because the next words connect every strange feeling you've had into one clear answer. Pay attention to this moment because your life has quietly crossed a line. The version of you who kept surviving is stepping aside, and the version who starts receiving is stepping forward. You don't need to fight anymore, and you don't need to prove anything to anyone. The struggle you've known has reached its limit. Don't rush past this part because this is where the shift locks in. The more present you are right now, the more aligned your next steps become. Something important is happening that you can't see yet, but you can feel it. Doors that felt permanently closed are loosening, and situations that refused to move are starting to respond. This is not coincidence, it's timing finally catching up to your patience. If this message is resonating, pause for a second and stay engaged, because staying present right now is part of how alignment completes itself. You're not late and you're not behind. You arrived exactly when you were meant to. Here's what's been hidden from you until now: the delays you hated were protecting you from stepping into the wrong version of your future. If things had moved faster before, you would have settled for less than what you deserve. That's why progress felt slow, but growth was happening quietly. And now that growth is ready to be seen. Stay through this part, because this is where the reason behind your waiting finally reveals itself. You may have felt isolated recently, like people didn't understand you anymore, or like conversations didn't land the same way. That's because your frequency changed before your environment caught up. When that happens, distance naturally forms, not to punish you but to prepare you. What no longer fits is falling away without resistance. Don't skip this truth, because it explains why certain connections faded and why you didn't have to force their ending. This is the moment to hear this clearly: you are not losing anything. You are being repositioned. What's leaving was never meant to go where you're going next. And what's coming won't require you to chase it, beg for it, or prove yourself for it. It will recognize you. If this message is helping you see things differently, stay connected, because what's unfolding next builds directly on this understanding. Right now, a new kind of calm is trying to settle over you. It may feel unfamiliar because you've been in survival mode for a long time. Let it arrive. This calm isn't emptiness, it's space being cleared for something real. And once that space is open, things move fast. Don't look away now, because the next phase begins the moment you stop resisting the stillness. There's a reason this message keeps pulling you back in. It's not meant to scare you or rush you. It's meant to anchor you before movement begins. The choices you make after this point will feel different, lighter, clearer, more confident. That's because alignment is replacing effort. Stay with the message, because you're about to understand what your next step actually is. What's coming into your life won't announce itself loudly at first. It will feel natural, almost familiar, like something clicking into place. That's how you'll know it's real. No confusion, no chaos, no second guessing. Just a quiet knowing. Don't skip this part, because this is how you recognize the right door when it opens. You may notice small signs over the next hours. Unexpected thoughts, subtle confirmations, moments of clarity that feel gentle but firm. These are not accidents. They're signals that momentum has started. The shift isn't coming someday, it's already in motion. Staying present now helps you notice it when it arrives. Here's the most important thing to understand: your breakthrough isn't dramatic because it doesn't need to be. It's effective, it works, it changes things in ways you don't have to explain to anyone. And once it begins, you won't need validation anymore. You'll feel settled in a way that speaks for itself. So stay right here and let this land. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not missing your chance. You are standing inside it. The pressure, the awareness, the pull, that's alignment locking into place. And as this message ends, the next chapter doesn't start with noise but with certainty. You'll know what to do, when to move, and who to leave behind. And when you look back on this moment, you'll realize this was the point where everything finally began to make sense. Stay focused right now, because this is the point where awareness turns into activation. And the reason everything feels so intense is because your next season is no longer approaching quietly, it's accelerating. What you're sensing is momentum building, the kind that doesn't ask permission and doesn't wait for comfort. Heaven has already started clearing what no longer belongs, and that's why your emotions feel stirred and your thoughts feel sharper. Don't skip this moment, because what's unfolding is not slow preparation, it's direct movement towards something that's been waiting for you. Pay attention to the urgency you feel, because that urgency isn't pressure, it's alignment locking into place. Before tonight at 11:51 p.m., something that was stalled is scheduled to release, and your presence here matters more than you realize. Staying connected right now keeps you tuned to the shift instead of distracted from it. This isn't about fear or rushing, it's about readiness. The next words are meant to anchor you before the change becomes visible, so stay exactly where you are. Notice how your body reacted when you kept listening, because that reaction is confirmation. Your breath changed because your nervous system felt safety, not danger. Your focus sharpened because your spirit recognized truth. This is not coincidence or emotional suggestion, it's recognition. You're not being pulled into something unknown, you're being returned to a path that was always yours. Don't look away now, because clarity is forming right in front of you. Here's what you need to understand clearly: the confusion you experienced wasn't failure, it was construction. What felt like collapse was actually reordering. Certain people stepped back because they couldn't walk with you where you're going. Certain plans dissolved because they couldn't hold the weight of what's next. Nothing was taken randomly. Everything was adjusted with precision. Stay with this message, because this truth changes how you see your past and frees you from carrying unnecessary guilt. This is where it goes deeper, because your timeline has shifted without asking your permission. Doors you thought were permanently sealed are loosening, because the version of you who needed them closed no longer exists. Answers that felt delayed were waiting for your energy to catch up to them. That's why this moment matters so much. Before tonight at 11:51 p.m., alignment completes a cycle, and awareness is the key that lets you step into it consciously instead of accidentally. You may feel a quiet pull to stay even longer, and that pull is intentional. The more present you are now, the smoother the transition becomes. Skipping would only delay clarity, not stop what's coming. Heaven has already set the movement in motion. Staying simply allows you to recognize it when it arrives. This is why the message keeps holding your attention. It's not trying to convince you, it's reminding you. Here's the part that explains the weight you've been carrying. You took responsibility for things that were never yours to hold, you stayed strong for others while ignoring your own exhaustion, you kept going when stopping would have felt safer. None of that went unseen. Every quiet moment of endurance built strength you'll need in the next chapter. Don't rush past this truth, because it reframes your entire struggle as preparation, not punishment. Right now, what feels like emotional pressure is actually release beginning. Your old reality is loosening its grip, and that can feel unsettling because familiarity is fading. But what's replacing it isn't chaos, it's clarity. A door meant specifically for you is preparing to open, and it won't require forcing, chasing, or proving yourself. It will respond to alignment, not effort. Stay present because the next realization ties all of this together. There's a reason a calm keeps washing over you in waves. That calm is the signal that resistance is dissolving. When resistance fades, movement becomes easy. This is why this moment feels different from others. You're not being warned, you're being welcomed into a new rhythm. Don't scroll away from this understanding because it sets the tone for how you walk forward. Old emotions surfacing lately weren't setbacks, they were exits. Your spirit has been cleaning house, releasing attachments that no longer match your direction. That's why memories resurfaced and thoughts reappeared unexpectedly. You weren't regressing, you were closing loops. And now that those loops are closing, forward motion becomes natural. Stay with the message because this is the confirmation your intuition has been asking for. Everything you've been praying for clarity on is beginning to align, not in noise but in order. Hidden opportunities will surface quietly, delayed answers will arrive without struggle. What felt scattered will start to make sense. And before tonight at 11:51 p.m., a moment of awareness will cross your path that feels simple but lands deep. Recognize it when it comes. That recognition is what shifts everything. This is where certainty replaces doubt. You don't need to overthink what's next because your next step will feel obvious, not forced. The season ahead responds to presence, not pressure. Stay grounded right now and let this truth settle. Because once this message ends, you'll notice subtle changes almost immediately. Conversations will feel different, decisions will feel lighter, your inner voice will sound clearer. Nothing here is meant to overwhelm you. It's meant to steady you. You're not being rushed into something you're not ready for, you're being reminded that readiness has already happened. The waiting did its job, the preparation is complete. What comes next doesn't need more effort, it needs awareness. So remain right here for these final moments and let alignment finish what it started. You are not behind, you are not late, you are exactly where movement begins. And when you step away from this message, you won't walk back into the same reality you paused. You'll carry clarity, direction, and a quiet confidence that something has already shifted in your favor. Stay completely present now because this is the moment the tension you've been feeling finally reveals its purpose. The reason your heart feels alert and your thoughts feel unusually quiet is because your spirit recognizes this as a turning point. You are not just listening to words anymore, you are standing inside a shift that has been building for a long time. Nothing about this is accidental and nothing about your reaction is random. Don't skip now because this is where awareness becomes activation and everything you've been sensing starts to make sense. Pay close attention to how still everything feels inside you right now because that stillness is not emptiness, it's readiness. This is what happens right before a major breakthrough enters a life. The noise fades, the confusion settles, and clarity begins to rise quietly. You didn't arrive here by chance, you were guided here because your next step requires understanding, not effort. Stay with this message because what's unfolding is aligning your inner world before your outer world changes. Here is the truth most people never hear at the right time: the intensity you've been living with lately is not stress, it's transition. Old versions of your life are dissolving, and that can feel uncomfortable even when it's necessary. What's leaving had a purpose once, but it cannot travel with you into what's coming next. This is why certain things stopped working, certain people stopped showing up, and certain plans lost their energy. Don't rush past this part because it explains why letting go has felt unavoidable. Right now something is being finalized behind the scenes that directly affects your path forward. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it, and that feeling is your confirmation. The waiting you've endured has done its job. You've learned discernment, resilience, and trust in your own inner voice. These were not optional lessons, they were requirements for where you're going. Stay here because this understanding prepares you to receive what's next without fear. This is where the shift becomes personal. The life you're stepping into will not require you to chase validation, over-explain yourself, or constantly prove your worth. What's approaching is drawn to alignment, not effort. That's why slowing down and staying present right now matters so much. Skipping this moment would only delay recognition, not the blessing itself. Remain grounded because grounding is how stability forms before growth accelerates. You may notice that certain worries you carried for months feel quieter right now. That's because their relevance is fading. The questions that once consumed you are being replaced by knowing. This doesn't happen loudly, it happens gently, like something clicking into place. Don't underestimate this calm, it's the foundation of what's coming. Stay with this message because the next phase of your life builds on this inner shift. Here's something important to understand before you move forward: your breakthrough doesn't need chaos to announce itself. It arrives with clarity, direction, and peace. That's how you'll know it's real. The drama you expected isn't required anymore because you've outgrown it. What's meant for you now will meet you at your level, not pull you back into survival mode. Stay attentive because recognizing this changes how you receive what's next. Everything you've walked through has refined your awareness. You now sense misalignment faster, feel truth more clearly, and trust your instincts more deeply. This isn't accidental growth, it's preparation. The season ahead demands discernment, not reaction. That's why this moment matters so much. Being fully present right now sharpens your ability to recognize the right doors when they open. As this message continues, let yourself accept that you are no longer in a waiting phase. You are in a transition phase. Movement has already begun, even if it hasn't fully appeared yet. Subtle shifts will show up first in how you think, how you respond, and what you tolerate. These internal changes are signals that external changes are close behind. Don't skip this realization because it anchors confidence instead of anxiety. What's coming into your life will not require you to abandon who you are. It will support it. You won't need to shrink, explain, or compromise your peace to hold on to it. That's how you'll recognize it belongs. The uncertainty you felt before was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to push you toward this exact moment of clarity. Stay here because this understanding closes one chapter and opens another. Now as you stay with these final moments, notice how your body feels steadier than before. That steadiness is alignment settling in. You don't need to force the next step, it will reveal itself naturally. When you move forward after this message, you'll notice decisions feel clearer and distractions feel less tempting. That's because something has already shifted. This is not the end of the message, it's the beginning of awareness. You're not walking back into the same reality you paused. You're stepping forward with clarity, readiness, and trust in yourself. What happens next won't need an announcement. You'll recognize it by how calm, clear, and right it feels. And when you look back on this moment, you'll realize this was the point where everything quietly changed in your favor. Stay fully present, because the sensations you're describing aren't random waves of emotion, they're signals that your inner world is syncing with something larger. That sudden sharpness in your thoughts, the way your emotions feel deeper than usual, the quiet intensity that rises without warning, all of it points to alignment completing itself. This is what happens right before a breakthrough becomes visible. Don't skip now, because the understanding forming in you is the bridge between where you've been and where you're about to step. Notice how awareness keeps pulling you back in, because awareness is the key that unlocks what's next. You're not being overwhelmed, you're being calibrated. The heaviness you felt was pressure releasing, not pressure increasing. What once felt confusing is beginning to organize itself into meaning. Stay here, because the clarity arriving now is the kind that settles your spirit instead of stirring it. Here's the truth behind the emotional surges you couldn't explain: your old reality has been loosening its hold. Patterns that kept repeating are losing momentum. Fears that once felt loud are fading into background noise. This doesn't happen all at once, it happens in layers. And right now you're crossing one of those layers. Don't rush past this part, because it explains why your reactions have changed and why certain worries no longer control you. Pay attention to the calm that keeps appearing between waves, because that calm is your new baseline forming. You're learning what stability feels like without tension. That's why distractions don't satisfy you the way they used to. Your spirit wants truth, not noise. Stay engaged, because the next understanding will confirm that this shift is permanent, not temporary. This is the moment to realize that the questions you carried for so long were never meant to be answered the old way. You weren't supposed to reason your way forward, you were supposed to feel your way into alignment. That's why logic failed and intuition grew stronger. Don't skip this insight, because it reframes your entire journey as guided rather than uncertain. Something important is being finalized right now, quietly and precisely. It's not dramatic, because it doesn't need to be. What's coming fits you, it matches your pace, your values, your growth. That's why the build-up felt intense, but the outcome will feel natural. Stay with the message, because recognizing this helps you receive without resistance. You may have noticed a growing sense of separation from what once felt familiar. That separation isn't loss, it's distinction. You're learning what belongs and what doesn't without forcing endings. This is alignment doing its work gently. Don't scroll away, because understanding this frees you from chasing closure that isn't required. Here's where everything tightens into clarity: your life isn't waiting for permission anymore. Movement has already started, and you're catching up to it consciously now. Decisions will feel simpler. Reactions will feel calmer. Confidence will feel quieter but stronger. Stay present because this is how momentum stabilizes before it accelerates. The intensity you feel isn't warning, it's confirmation. You wouldn't feel this way if nothing were changing. Your body recognizes safety and truth, and that's why your breath steadies when you listen. Don't skip because this awareness prepares you to notice the signs that follow, subtle, timely, unmistakable. Everything you endured refined your discernment. You can now sense misalignment before it drains you. You can step back without guilt. You can choose peace without apology. This isn't something you learned overnight, it was earned. Stay with this realization because it explains why your boundaries feel firmer and your intuition feels louder. As the shift completes, expect simplicity. What's meant to arrive won't complicate your life, it will clarify it. You won't need to chase or convince. You'll recognize alignment by how effortless it feels. Don't rush past this truth because it changes how you evaluate opportunities and relationships going forward. You're not entering a season of chaos, you're entering a season of order. Things will line up in ways that feel obvious after the fact. That's how you'll know it's real. Stay grounded now because grounding is how stability forms before expansion. The last thing to understand is this: you didn't miss anything. Timing didn't betray you. Delays protected you until readiness caught up with opportunity. Now that readiness is here. Stay with these final moments and let the calm settle, because when you move forward after this, you'll do so with certainty rather than urgency. As this message closes, trust the quiet confidence rising in you. That confidence is alignment sealing itself. You don't need to announce it or explain it. You'll carry it into the next interaction, the next decision, the next open door. And when you look back, you'll recognize this moment as the turning point where everything finally came together. Stay fully present now because the awareness forming inside you is not imagination, it's recognition. Those signals you felt weren't random emotions or passing thoughts, they were spiritual alerts preparing you for a turning point. You are not wandering without direction, you are being guided with precision. You are not falling behind, you are being rerouted onto a stronger path. You are not damaged, you are being rebuilt with clarity and purpose. Don't skip this moment because what is settling into your spirit right now was designed specifically for you. Notice how everything feels like it's speeding up because acceleration has already begun. Your energy is rising in a way that feels unfamiliar but steady. Your path is adjusting, not breaking. Your destiny is unlocking layers that were sealed until you were ready. What felt delayed is beginning to move, what felt blocked is starting to release, and what was hidden is slowly coming into view. The timing of this message matters because before tonight at 11:51 p.m., a subtle but powerful moment is meant to reach you and guide your next step. Pay attention to the pause you felt when you kept listening because that pause was your spirit leaning forward. This is the point where the message becomes undeniable. There's no confusion here, no guessing. You've reached the moment where clarity begins to replace questioning. Don't move away now because the understanding forming inside you connects every strange feeling you've had into one clear direction. You may have noticed that your thoughts have felt heavier lately, not because something is wrong but because something is shifting. Your emotions felt deeper because you were outgrowing shallow patterns. Your intuition grew louder because it needed to guide you through transition. Feeling disconnected from old habits and people wasn't loss, it was separation. What couldn't go with you was quietly falling away to make room for what can. This is where refinement happens. You weren't being punished by discomfort, you were being prepared by it. Every emotional wave, every moment of stillness, every unexplained shift served a purpose. You're approaching the point where confusion breaks open into clarity. Stay with this because recognizing this truth frees you from doubting your own process. Right now alignment is settling at a level you haven't experienced before. Your inner world is calming even as your outer world prepares to move. The pressure you felt is turning into focus. The heaviness is lifting into understanding. And the reason this message reaches you now is because before tonight at 11:51 p.m., a moment of awareness is scheduled to meet you. It won't be loud but it will be unmistakable. This moment might arrive as a realization, a feeling, a sudden certainty or a quiet sign that clicks instantly. You won't need confirmation from anyone else. You'll recognize it by how steady it feels. Don't skip now because the final understanding builds on this recognition and anchors it in confidence. As you stay present, notice how calm keeps returning between waves of emotion. That calm is not emptiness, it's readiness. Your system is adjusting to stability after a long period of endurance. You're no longer bracing for impact, you're preparing for movement. This shift changes how you respond to life, not by forcing action but by clarifying direction. Here's the part that brings it all together: you endured far more than most people ever saw. You carried pressure quietly, adapted repeatedly, and kept moving forward even when your energy was low. That endurance mattered. It shaped discernment, resilience, and self-trust. None of it was wasted and none of it was overlooked. Every silent battle strengthened your ability to recognize truth, every delay sharpened your awareness, every disappointment refined your priorities. This is why what's coming now will meet you at the right level. You're not stepping into chaos, you're stepping into order. Don't rush past this realization because it reframes your entire journey as preparation rather than struggle. You may feel a sense of closure forming without a dramatic ending. That's because some chapters close quietly once their purpose is fulfilled. You don't need explanations for everything that faded. What matters is what's aligning now. Stay present because the clarity arriving now will guide you naturally forward. This is the final layer of the message: you are no longer in a season of surviving. You are transitioning into a season of receiving with awareness. The shift isn't waiting for permission, it's already in motion. Staying grounded allows you to recognize opportunities without anxiety and decisions without pressure. As this message reaches its final moments, trust the steadiness rising in you. That steadiness is alignment locking in place. You don't need to announce it or explain it, you'll carry it into conversations, choices, and moments that matter. And when you look back, you'll see this as the point where everything finally made sense. Nothing here asked you to fear the future. It asked you to be present for it. The clarity you've been seeking isn't somewhere ahead, it's forming now. And as you step away from this message, you won't return to the same uncertainty you paused. You'll move forward with direction, calm and a quiet knowing that something important has already shifted in your favor.